Hey there, super friends. It's Joey with Last Point Gaming. Today is Monday, August 10th, 2020. How y'all doing? I know I am off schedule. Well, was I ever really on schedule? Let's be honest. I did record an episode on Thursday and just kind of forgot to upload it, and now I don't remember what any of it says, and it's a real pain in the ass to listen to the drafts, so. And I'm recording on a Monday because this week's about to get rough. Husband is traveling for work, and we are trying to get the kids back to getting up at the right time for school. So we're moving up their wake up time a little bit earlier each day. And they've been very vocal about their displeasure concerning this process, and yeah, this week's about to get rough. Anyway though, so I've actually been playing a fair amount of Moto lately. I mean, definitely more than I was. Now, still a lot of draft, but I did put together this mono green Mana Gorger Hydra hardened scales deck, and then of course to protect the Mana Gorger Hydras, I needed cards like Blossoming Defense and Heroic Intervention. I actually won some matches in the tournament practice queue. I beat Bant Spirits with it. That one was surprising. And that was even with the wrong creature in it. I wanted Wildborn Preservers, but for some reason, didn't remember the name of the card, and said it was I remembered it was something it's the elf riding the fox, because it's an elf creature type, but it looks like it should be fox. I'm like, oh yeah, it must be the Mara Leaf Riders, right? Yeah, totally. So I had them in the deck by accident for the first match I played with it, where I beat Bant Spirits. It was pretty fun to play. It's not good. It's not good at all. I mean, I'm running Hydra's Growth, 2 and a green, Aura. When it becomes attached, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, and then I think it's on your upkeep, double the amount of +1/+1 counters on the creature. It's cute. If we, lived in a game where creatures couldn't be killed, it would be great. But yeah, really bad deck, but really fun. Just plays off the whole counter synergy. Yorvo. Not Den Protector. Oh my god, how did I forget the name of this card? The 1/1 for a green that anytime a creature, basically it has Evolve. Anytime a creature enters the battlefield with greater power, enters the battlefield or dies with greater power, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and has trample after it has 3 or more counters. God, I can't believe I forgot the name of the stamp card, because I've played it a lot. Pelt Collector? Is that it? I think it's Pelt Collector. We're going with Pelt Collector. Growth Chamber Guardian. Yeah, you can tell it's a quality Pioneer deck with that card in it. My bad. Forgot to put the window up on the highway. 2 copies of the Great Henge. And Verdurous Gearhulk. That one's a mistake. I have not cast one in that deck yet. I think the curve on that one's a little too high. I did put in 2 Nykthos, and I was going to take them out and just put in regular force, because there have been draws that have been made a little bit awkward where I have the turn 3 Yorvo, but my opening hand's like 2 forests and a shrine. And I'm like, and it seems most of the time I've drawn the 3rd forest, but there was a game where for many turns my mana was 2 forests and a Nykthos, and like had the Yorvo rotting in hand because I just couldn't get 3 devotion to stick on the battlefield. Because, I mean, at that point, you know, at least I'm not losing mana activating Nykthos, and it enables me to cast the Yorvo, but I need to get 3 devotion to stick on the battlefield. Of course, Hardened Scales. I was going to put Collected Company in before I put in the Gear Hulks, and decided to put the Gear Hulk in instead, and maybe Collected Company is the better way to go. I don't really know. Also, you know, when I played Selesnya Hardened Scales in Standard... Oh, fuck. My cigarette went out. We only had Hardened Scales, right? Like, we didn't have Snake or any of those other creatures. Because I know there's another one, isn't there? There's another snake-like creature in Pioneer now. And, you know, it wasn't really a problem. You definitely tried to... It had to be a pretty good hand to not mulligan to Hardened Scales. But, you know, it went alright. I'm starting to, like, really think... No, you actually need those creatures, because there have been a fair amount of games that, like, just couldn't find a Hardened Scales. And it's not the worst ever. Because, like, seriously, Managorger Hydras don't get killed. Are just... They're just good. Aside from that being horribly vulnerable thing. Oh, man. What is that? Mirror Shield or something like that? The equipment that gives it hexproof? Oh, that's what I need. Well, now I gotta look into that. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the whole premise of the deck, is, like, bad cards to protect the Hydras. Yes, I'm aware there are better Hydras in the format, to some people's opinions. Managorger Hydra is the best Hydra. Sorry. I don't make the rules. Actually, I do. But yeah, it was really fun to play. The second night I ran it, it didn't do so hot. I just got slapped around a lot, but I did win a match. And then... Oh, I don't know if it was late last week or this weekend, I was looking at, you know, just going back to running, like, it's not really red devotion, because there's no devotion payoff, but in my collection of deck lists, I named the deck Rossi Red, because the first time I, like, became aware of it was watching Ross Merriam stream it, and it looked just wonderful. It's very reminiscent of Naya Revolt Zoo, where you have those draws where it just goes off. You can't turn 1 with it, like you could, because you don't have Simian Spirit Guides, but you can get the same kind of trajectory turn 2 as, like, was the kind of top end of that deck, where it's, you know, just a bunch of BTEs into Surge Reckless Bushwhacker. And it's got, like, all kinds of neat stuff in it. I think there's a Clothis somewhere between the main and the side. I think. I don't know, it's been a while since I played it, but it was a really fun deck to play. And it's just one of those, it either does its thing and you mash face before they can do anything about it, or it looks like it's going to do its thing and then just kind of fizzles out and dies. It's either like a Roman candle or one of those little snake fireworks, which the little black pucks that you light on fire and ash just kind of crawls out of them, and you're like, wow, that was it? Okay. There you go. It was a fun deck to play, but instead I decided I was going to draft. So I did an M21 draft, and I drafted Demir, which, I mean, that's just a mistake for me. But I ended up, I played one match with it as Demir, and it was really heavy on the blue. And I got Nugan, so, you know, there's that. That was, like, the top end of the deck. And so I decided for the second match, because I barely lost, but I lost the first match. Like, it was tight, it was close. It was some good games. Game 2 was a little bit one-sided, because I managed to, like, get straight to 8 mana and drop the Ugin turn 8. And, yeah, they couldn't really do anything about that. But, like, and I think game 1, I just kind of got raffle stomped. And then game 3 was a real close, tight game. And so for the second match, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to make it mono blue. It requires playing some less than ideal cards like, it's not Pastor Knight. The Golem for, like, 2 mana, I think it is. He's 2/1. And you can tap 1 or tap 2 and it to make 1 mana of any color, so you can filter with him. But it's also colorless, which is nice for playing Ugin. I had Chrome Replicators. I had 2 of them, and I had like 3 Teferi's Protege, 2 Riddle Forms. There was something else I had 2 of. I was like, yeah, I mean, it might happen, and a fair amount of the time, at least with the second replicator, I got the token. Sometimes it was playing second replicator into a battlefield that already had one. So, yeah, I took out all the black cards, played some of the less great blue cards, like the 6 mana spell. You can either bounce 2 creatures or draw 3 cards, I think it is. You know, just stuff like that. So I start game 1 of the second match, and everything looks great until, like, I think it was my second or third draw step of the game, and I draw a swamp. I made my deck mono blue and didn't fix my mana. I mean, it ended up not being a problem. It wasn't like I choked on blue mana or anything, but I had a bunch of swamps with nothing to do with them. And then I ended up siding in black cards anyway, and I won that match. I have to pause y'all real quick. Yeah, so I ended up siding in black cards anyway. I think the first match I played was like a really controlled base deck without a lot of creatures. And the second deck I played was a little more low to the ground, so I had to put in the early blockers and stuff. I ended up winning match 2, and match 3 was, like, real tight. But ended up not winning it, but it was a good time. And then I realized that I had, like, a ton of event tickets. Like, I must have decided I was going to play a bunch of Moto and bought, like, 100 event tickets, and then promptly stopped playing, because, that sounds like something I would do. I'm not being sarcastic. That legitimately sounds like something I would do, and apparently did. So I decided to do a double Masters draft. Blah. No, I totally didn't know what I was doing. Somehow I ended up with 3 oubliettes, And I want to pretend that it was, this great homage to the professor, being so excited about Oubliette. No, I don't know how they got there. I played them, but I had this really awkward black-white deck that kind of didn't do much of anything, and yeah, no, it was bad. It was bad. I got some cards I was excited about, but, I pay mana traders to rank cards, so I'm not much about collecting the cards on Moto, so it just wasn't exciting from that point of view. And I completely didn't get what was going on with that draft format, at all. Also, I realized outside of the rares, I have very little idea of what's actually in that set. So I did another M21 draft, and I played one game of it last night. What did I end up drafting? Green black. Yeah, because I got the Archfiend's Vessel or whatever, and 2 Rise again, that combo. Plus I got Scavenging Ooze, which I'm actually pretty excited about. It's a good little card. Good little ooze. Oh, what else is in that deck I was particularly excited about? Yeah, I can't remember now. It's alright deck. I did lose the match I played. I lose a lot. But it was fun. Kind of excited to finish out that draft. But then, yeah, I think I want to go back to playing some Pioneer decks for a while. I played against some really neat stuff in the tournament practice. I don't even wholly know what all of it was. There was this black-red, almost control-style Super Friends deck. They were sorely disappointed with... So, in the main deck of my mono-green garbage scales, I have the 4 Blossoming Defense, then in the sideboard I have the 4 Heroic Intervention. So, after they Angrathed, I think it was a Wildborn Preserver away from me, because aside from the Gear Hulks, all my stuff is CMC 3 or less, which is why there was Coco in it until the Gear Hulks. Also, though, I feel like I might not be running enough creatures for Coco to be effective. I don't know. I have to think about it. The Gear Hulks, every time I drew one, it was just kind of stranded in my hand. Or if it was oh, the next turn I can cast this, that was the turn I either won or lost. So, I don't know. I think the Gear Hulks kind of will win more. So, maybe it should be Coco. But, yeah, after getting one of my creatures, Angrath, I gotta pause you again. Alright, for a third time. After getting, yeah, I really think it was a Wildborn Preserver. It was not a Hydra, at least. But getting an Angrath, I decided in the Heroic Interventions. And, yeah. I lost to Dimir Control. Oh, that was one of those obnoxious matches where, game 1 I mulliganed to 4, and I almost made the comeback. They were Control, so it's tough to tell. Because I'm oh yeah, I had them at 2 life, but it's not really saying a whole lot against Control. Because Control is doing fine until it's at 0 life. I mean, I put up a good fight and everything. But it was one of those, every time I could finally put a threat on the battlefield, they either had the counter or they had the kill spell. Sometimes it was 2 and 1 because it was Drown in the Lock. So, that was just, it's one of those control matchups that no matter how you try to play around it and everything, they always have the answer for the best card. Can't get a threat to stick. I mean, it's just how it goes against control sometimes. There's a fair portion of the time where control can't find the counter spell it needs to stabilize, or the kill spell or whatever, so I can't complain too much. It was a fun match, because I think I ended up winning game 2, and then in game 3, I'll say I mulliganed to like 6. Not super hard, but didn't get to keep 7. And it was kind of like Sisyphus with the boulder, where I'd start making progress, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting there, oh, my stuff's dead. Alright, doing it again. Just rebuilding. Oh, my stuff's dead. But I had a good time with it. The second night I played it, I had like 3 opponents. Like the first 3 matches I started, we played game 1, I got stomped, and then they conceded the match. Like, alright, I get it. You don't want to play against my garbage brew. And I mean, it was garbage. If you were preparing for an important event, you know, something that you actually wanted to do well in, and trying to get a feel for how your deck did against different strategies, it would be a complete waste of time to play against this deck. There is nobody of any significant skill level playing this deck. It's bad. I made it all by myself. It's bad. I don't build decks. I mean, yeah, it was frustrating, don't get me wrong. Like, I started matches because I wanted to play Magic, but I can definitely appreciate their position after they play one game against this deck, you know, in a no-stakes match. You know, they're not losing anything by conceding to me. It was just a practice queue. It's not like we were playing in a league or anything. Yeah, I can understand just not wanting to waste the time they have. I know some people get, like, real tilted on that, but the thing is, unless you're looking at a professional Magic the Gathering personality, you know, content creator and player, who makes their living off of playing and analyzing the game, you're playing against somebody who probably has about as much time as you do in your regular life to prepare for a tournament. And there are those of us who just don't care. Like, I was not preparing for a tournament. I'm not entering any premier events. Hell, I don't even play in leagues because I don't want to waste money on tickets and lose. You know, I just play in the tournament practice queue. But, you know, if somebody's trying to actually maximize their playtesting time, I can definitely understand coming across a deck like this and going, this is just not something I want to spend the next 20 minutes playing against. Though, I also find it kind of weird people who get all salty about net decks in these kind of environments. I definitely saw it a lot more when I was messing around on Lackey. You know, like when I was preparing, like I was running through matches with Rami Red with some different changes I wanted to make to the deck because I only had like 2 or 3 weeks to prepare for a tournament. I kind of didn't realize I was going to until that point. So, only playing 2 or 3 F&Ms with it, it's just not enough. Because I was convinced I was really going to try this time, and I did really try. And, yep, turns out that's what my best effort looks like. It's not very impressive. Good thing I'm a bang-up software engineer. Well, front-end developer. And so I was, like, running through practice games with it on Lackey, and I would play against whatever came my way, because I don't know, I see value in throwing your deck up against an out-of-left-field strategy. Because, yeah, you can read the sideboarding guides, and you can be prepared for your most likely matchups. But if you can win those fringe games, you know, you can then afford to maybe lose a couple of the bad matchups. And I feel like you get to be more agile with the deck when you really understand how all the pieces work together. And one of the better ways, in my opinion, or in my experience, or for me, take it as you will, is to play it against rogue strategies. That force you to go off script and say, okay, how do I deal with this with what's in my toolbox? But, God, I would have people just, like, and I had marked the table as, you know, like, nationals practice. And the amount of people that would just, like, get super shitty in the chat about it. I definitely experienced that a lot more with Lackey than I do Moto, and maybe it's because in Lackey your screen name is not tied to anything that identifies you in Magic. You cannot be banned from the game for, you know, being a complete shithead. And I mean, some of the chat logs I've seen the screenshots of are pretty disgusting. Something probably should be done about that. Like, just don't threaten people. What is wrong with you? Don't do that. There's just no reason. It's a goddamn game. Calm down. Have a Snickers. Take a nap. Don't be an asshole. Anyway. And yeah, people, like, got real aggressive about the fact that I was playing a net deck. Like, okay, man, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I marked this table. You could see that this was, you know, I'm, like, doing legitimate tournament practice. Of course, I'm going to play a deck that somebody who has all these hours in the week to play test and analyze the game has come to the conclusion that, you know, hey, it's a good way to go. Like, I don't have a problem with people who like to brew up their own decks and everything. I still, though, I don't think it's fair to say that every net deck started as a brew, because a lot of them originate from these players that their occupation, what they do for a living, is play and analyze this game. So yeah, they came up with the strategy and everything, but they probably have a deeper understanding of the game than you do, or than your average player. I mean, obviously, you spend that much time doing something, I would hope you have a better understanding of the game, like a deeper understanding of the game than I do. And they've probably play-tested way more matches than you. This is what they do for a living. So, I don't think it's fair to say when, say, Brad Nelson rolls into a tournament with a deck that nobody's seen before, calling that a brew. Because he has different resources in the game than the average player does. But yeah, no, you want to brew decks, and I do. I love seeing the stuff, like, I hate Lantern Control, but I enjoyed watching it take over a tournament when, you know, in the beginning of the tournament, it was joked about how it was, you know, draft cards deck. It was just like all these bad cards that nobody played, and somehow it just locked people out of the game. there is talk, and I of course don't know. I know that I saw Humans when Collins Mullen played it to his 0-loss finish in an Open. There is mention that deck actually came from a smaller content creator, MTG8, which he did go on this rant about how it was meant to be like, AIDS as in assist, not as in a disease. Having watched a few of his videos, I'm not really buying that. I kind of feel like he knew exactly what he was doing with that, but, hey, whatever. I'm not here to judge. So I've heard mention that deck actually originated with him. So, I don't know, maybe that counts as a brew that became a real thing. I know there was a guy who played at my LGS that, he was all about. He did not copy lists from the internet. I mean, I was about that for a minute. And then I discovered that I'm just a really terrible deck engineer. Like, just absolutely awful. But, yeah, this guy, really prided himself on it, and he came up with some neat stuff that did very well at F&M. And he had a Golgari. I don't know if it was full Sultai. I feel like it was just black-green Delirium. Deck in that standard, where a black-green Delirium deck became a major deck in that standard. And I remember he was really annoyed because the net deck version of his deck was very similar. And so people assumed that he was playing, this other list. But that's just kind of how it goes, though. There's only so many efficient and effective ways to build a deck in any given format. Sure, some of the formats are, deeper and you have a little more room to play with it, like Modern, but that depth in the format also creates pressure on your deck, I guess, to be able to stand up to all these, proven and tried strategies. Anyway. So yeah, I had a bunch of people just spot concede to the deck, and I don't think it was that they were that afraid of it. I think that might have been Friday night, and I think there was some kind of Pioneer event this weekend, so, they, wanted to get better use out of their tournament practice time, so I get it. But yeah, I think I only won one match that night, legitimately. It was still a fun deck to play. But I think I might run Orzhov Auras through the queue again. I don't know, once I find a deck that, I get a decent win rate out of in the practice queue, I might actually run through a league. I'm trying to get away from drafting, because again, there's no reason that I'm trying to accumulate cards on Moto. I don't have a real interest in building a collection there, because I pay for the Mana Trader subscription, basically, so I don't have to. I actually haven't fired up Arena in almost a week. Should do that. Gotta clear out them quests. And that's I do enjoy drafting on Arena, and it's about the only way I actually enjoy playing on Arena is draft. That may be different now that the bullies are gone out of standard, but Nisu Shakes the World is still there, so. But yeah, no, it was good to get to play some constructed Magic again, even with a garbage deck. But I knew it was a garbage deck. Like, I expected it to do poorly, so I still think there's something there. And maybe it's just wishful thinking. Like, I want Managorger Hydra to be good again, because I love that card. Now, I pre-ordered a playset of them in Origins, because I was so goddamn excited about that card. And that's how I ended up playing Hardened Scales for that season. It's because it was, like, the only deck that played it. And the only, like, expensive-ish cards in the deck were... It ran for the Windswept Teeth, and I already had them. Because that was, like, priority number one when Cons was in Standard, is that we got playsets of the... It was 5 fetch lands, right? Because you get Bloodstained Mire, Windswept Heath, the blue-white one, the red-green one, Wooded Foothills, the black-blue one. Fuck. I don't remember what the 2 blue ones are called. Like, I can picture the art for them, but... Is it Drowned Catacomb for the blue-black one? Or is that one of the other lands? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, the 5 fetch lands that were in the Cons block, we went out of our way to acquire full playsets of. So I had those. There weren't actually that many quality rares in that deck. So I think I spent like $50 on all the other cards besides the fetch lands and Managorger Hydras. You know, it was Canopy Vista, I think was the name of it, the green-white Battle Land, is that what we call them? They were Tango lands for a minute, and personally I thought that was adorable, but... So, I just want to make Managorger Hydra not terrible, and I don't think there's really a way to do it. I know I'd watched a video at some point, some kind of more, a smaller content creator, I guess, was like suggesting budget alternatives to Tarmogoyf, and mentioned Managorger Hydra. Managorger Hydra is not Tarmogoyf. Not even a little. No, that's... No. I just love that card, though. Anyway, so yeah, I think I'm going to try some of the old favorites I had, and I might look into what's shaping up in the format. Now that there have been more events firing, I'm just so fucking glad Dimir Inverter's gone. Like, it was just such a shitty deck to play against. And Dimir Inverter, like, the deck itself, is nothing I enjoy about Magic. It just at all. And that doesn't mean that automatically the deck needs to not exist, because I wouldn't enjoy playing it. But when your options are to get beat by Dimir Inverter or play Dimir Inverter and maybe win the mirror, like, there's no way I'm playing that deck. Zero interest. The thought of playing it just makes my head hurt. I mean, again, you know, the other combo decks that were in the format, you know, Heliod Ballista and Lotus Breach, I didn't mind as much. Those matches felt a lot more winnable with different strategies. like, Heliod Ballista, I would say, was probably scarier to me than Lotus Breach. Because even, like, really good combo players with Lotus Breach, if you could just slow them down by a turn or two, you know, get your hate piece out at the right time that they have to take off a turn to deal with it, you can get pretty close, or if not completely shore up that match in that one turn it took them to deal with your hate piece. But Heliod Ballista was, you had to keep hate on the battlefield for it. I mean, I like the idea of Heliod Ballista. I think I did play it once. But I'm not a combo player. I enjoy Storm in Modern. I'm not great with it. Like, if I get knocked off the linear path to victory, I have a difficult time again, or playing with that deck. You waving? Who are you? I don't know you. But, you know, it's fun to kind of step out into a different archetype that I don't often play. So I have a good time with it. I lose with it a lot, but I have a good time with it. But yeah, Heliod Ballista, I just, like, could never get it to come together. Any opponent I played against that was playing Heliod Ballista did not seem to have that same problem. But I don't think combo decks are inherently bad or need to be purged from all the formats or anything like that. I think there is a point that, especially, you know, 2-card combo decks, which Dimir Inverter pretty much was. And actually, it's more, I think, the control shells that have a combo finish. I think that's problematic. Because even, like, Devoted Druid combo in Modern, yeah, I mean, I lost to it a few times. But it was never a, oh man, I can't win this matchup. And it, I mean, yeah, it's technically more than a 2-card combo, because making infinite mana on its own won't win you the game. But it had 2 major pieces that if you could keep those kind of out of the way, you weren't under a whole lot of threat. Because the rest of the deck was basically things to do with all that mana. You know, like, use the, I don't remember the name of the card. The one in a green, I think he's a 2/2, and on the front side, because he's a flippy card, you can pay, it's either 2 or 3 mana to look at the top X cards of your deck, put a creature in your hand, the rest on the bottom. So basically, you got that on battlefield with your Devoted Druid combo pieces, and just dug for the Walking Ballista, put down this huge Walking Ballista, killed your opponent. But you could play around the deck, you could work around it. You know, you always had a fighting chance. These combo decks with these controlled decks with combo finishes, there's just so little you can do. So, yeah, I don't even think it's really 2-card combos that are necessarily the problem. I think it's combos that you can't interact with, which is why I maintain that I really don't think Heliod Ballista was that oppressive a combo. But, all that being said, I gotta go. As always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and I don't know if I'm gonna get another episode in this week. A lot depends on how things go, you know, with getting the kids up and how I'm sleeping with husband not being here and everything. So hopefully, but if not, I'll talk to y'all next week.